Power builds temples, coins, and laws, but it also breeds secrets. In Rome, ambition wore a toga, betrayal wore a smile. Tonight, we peel back the veneer of marble to reveal the human engines beneath the empire: ambition, patronage, ritual, and the betrayals they made inevitable. This is Secrets of Rome. To understand Rome's crises, we must look not at battles alone, but at social rules. How did men rise? Who they owed favors to? How did ritual shape politics? And when those systems failed, how did friends become killers? Over the next 20 minutes, we will trace the culture of ambition, the networks of patronage, the theater of public image, the paranoia of the palace, the rituals that sanctified power, the famous betrayals, the mechanics of coups, and the way victors rewrote history. Manpower and betrayal. In Rome, ambition was institutionalized. The cursus honorum, the ladder of offices, mapped a lifetime of status. Boys grew up learning that honor was public, not private. A man's reputation lived on marble and in votes. Political rivalry was a social sport. Advancement required bravery in war, eloquence in the forum, and relentless self-promotion. But when prestige became currency, the stakes rose. Every success invited rivals, and every rival could become an enemy. Ambition drove Rome forward, and it sharpened knives in the dark. Rome ran not only on law, but on relationships. Patronage tied patrons and clients in bonds of obligation, favors for votes, protection for loyalty. These networks extended to the army. A powerful patron could recruit soldiers, fund games, and secure alliances. Political power thus became personal. You owed your career to men who expected returns. That made politics less a contest of ideas than a web of debts. When a patron rose, an entire faction followed. This personal currency powered Rome and created the perfect conditions for factional violence. Romans understood spectacle. Triumphs, public games, monuments, all were political theater. An emperor built monuments not just to honor gods, but to shape memory. Coins stamped with a leader's face were propaganda in everyone's pocket. Control the story, and you control consent. Even deficits of power could be masked by pageantry. But spectacles required resources. When the show outstripped the state's treasury, the performance slipped into fragility. Image management could win the crowd, but it couldn't guarantee the loyalty of a hungry legion. The imperial court was a crucible of suspicion. Proximity to the emperor meant access and danger. Servants overheard plots, freedmen brokered influence, and guards could be bought. Power concentrated in a single palace creates perverse incentives. Flatterers thrive, rivals hide, purges follow. Tiberius's court teetered between spectacle and terror. Sejanus leveraged his office into mortal influence. In Rome, promotion could be the first step toward a public trial, exile, or sudden death. Paranoia became policy. To survive, you needed patrons inside the palace, or a knife read. Religion sanctified politics. Auspices, omens, and sacred rites provided divine cover for human decisions. When an augur declared unfavorable signs, he paused a campaign. When the people saw sacred approval, they obeyed. Emperors courted priestly support to legitimize rule. Ceremony could transform a usurper into a rightful sovereign if the omens were favorable. Ritual-fused power witty for the right moment. Few betrayals are as iconic as Caesar's assassination. On the Ides of March, senators who feared his power donned the cloak of the Republic and plunged knives into a man who had redefined Roman politics. Motives mixed: fear for the Republic, personal slights, ambition, and jealousy. History remembers the spectacle, but the truth is complex. Many conspirators believed they saved a fragile political order. Their act, however, unleashed more violence than they intended, and the murder of a single man plunged Rome into a new. Caesar's death was not unique. Throughout imperial history, murder and exile were standard tools. Sejanus, once Tiberius's right hand, fell from favor and was executed, his memory erased. Nero's reign saw real and rumored executions, while later emperors cleaned house with public displays. Conspiracy and counter-conspiracy became routine. These purges were both practical and theatrical. A public execution signaled control. Yet each purge also wide cycle of civil war. Removing a ruler required more than a dagger. It required coordination. Successful coups needed four elements: military loyalty, secrecy, timing, and a story. The army's allegiance mattered most. Commanders who controlled legions could march into the capital. Secrecy hid plans from palace spies. Timing, a festival, a storm, or a distracted senate, provided the moment. And the story, a narrative of legitimacy, turned soldiers into saviors and citizens into willing subjects. When these elements aligned, the state shifted hands almost insta. After a coup, victors rewrote memory. Damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory, meant erasing a person from monuments and records. Names were chiseled out, images smashed, and coins melted. It was political theater. If you could eliminate memory, you could shape truth. Ironically, these attempts at erasure often preserved history. Archaeologists read the scars. The winner's narrative dominated official accounts, but the scars told intimately. Success depended on probability and human psychology. Failed plots often lacked military support or were betrayed by confidants. Successful ones had a plausible alternative leader and the ability to quickly present legitimacy. Sometimes luck intervened, weather, illness, or a timely rumor. But the underlying theme is simple. Power is social. Those who could assemble loyal people, soldiers, senators, priests, and present a credible story of legitimacy, stood the best chance of lasting. Without that social scaffolding, even a successful rule by fear comes with cost. The more you rely on purges, the harder it is to trust officials. The more you spend on spectacles, the greater the financial strain. The more you centralize power, the fewer competent hands you have for administration. Empires that survive need institutions that outlast individuals. Rome's cycles show that personal dominance can rule for a lifetime. But systems built on fear rarely outlive to murder produced only chaos. Rome's story is a mirror. Patronage survives in modern politics as clientelism. Spectacle survives in mass media. The need for legitimacy survives in every leader's narrative. Modern states have institutions designed to resist single-person rule, but the temptations remain. Rome teaches a cautionary lesson. Power must be constrained by laws and norms, not only by force. Understanding Roman betrayals helps us recognize the structures that enable them. and the antidotes that prevent them: transparency, accountable institutions, and civic memory. If this journey into Rome's secrets moved you, subscribe for Part 4, a deep dive into the economics,